Well, it's midnight in Manila, ladies and gentlemen, and at noon here on the East Coast in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and Bethesda, Maryland. And this is news that you can use, whether you knew it or not, from your friends at CarEdge with your hosts, Ray and Zach. And that's a damn good looking shirt you're wearing today, handsome.
Thank you. Trying to follow in your footsteps. We're going to kick today's show off with Ford. So we had Ford
Yeah.
earnings and Ford's CEO, Mr. Jim Farley, coming out and saying all the things that Wall Street wanted to hear. There's a lot to actually unpack in some of what Farley said. That being said, I took the angle, Pops, of him being all in and Ford being all in on expensive pickup trucks. I went with $100,000 pickup trucks in the title of today's show. They don't sell a lot of $100,000 pickup trucks, although there are a few. But
How do you know?
Ford is the, how do I know? CarEdge.com. We have all the data possible that you can imagine.
Ah,
Ford, including the free Data Explorer, which breaks frequently, but is really cool when it works.
yes.
It is free. Ford, Dad, is all in on expensive pickup trucks because
Yes.
you've had this theory that legacy automakers are going to have to sell high profit margin internal combustion engine vehicles to pursue their EV dreams. And it sounds like Ford is doing exactly that, doubling down on high profit margin, expensive pickup trucks. What's the news here?
Well, the news is exactly what we said it was, which is that in particular, Ford is expecting high profit margins from their internal combustion engine division through 2025. They don't see a slowdown in ICE vehicles between now and 2025. They're expecting the sale of these expensive high profit margin vehicles to underwrite their foray into EVs. And after 2025, at that point, then they suspect that you'll start to see some declining sales and not necessarily profitability, but declining sales on the Ford Blue side of things, while sales take off on the Ford E side of things. But this comes as no surprise. They need money in order to pursue I don't want to use the word folly, but pursue the folly of EVs. And the only way they can do that is if they abandon the low price market and concentrate in what I call the high priced, high profit margin sandbox that they've chosen to be in. And as my headline says under my name, whatever the hell it says only the CEO can afford that truck. And I guess there's enough CEOs out there that will be able to afford that truck.
Let's look at some of the data, Dad, some of the things that were said by folks at Ford. So this comes from Automotive News. Mr. Golhotra is the head of Ford Blue.
Yes.
This is where things, let's one piece at a time. Mr. Golhotra said that profit margins for the OEM, not for dealers, for the OEM from combustion vehicles will grow from 7.2% today to at least 10% by 2026. Those growth plans are driven by the company's focus on profitable vehicle segments and high margin, low cost derivatives. Don't be surprised when you see Raptor versions of literally everything because they can mark them up. It's pretty much the same exact truck, but they get to make more profit.
Yes.
Trucks, off-road, and performance segments have a long runway. Still, he said Ford Blue's volume and margins are likely to shrink after 2025, like you said. That being said, they're looking at over $500 million in savings before the end of the year just by reducing the complexity and finding efficiencies in producing their vehicles. So many different pieces of this to unpack, because when you also then juxtapose Mr. Golhotra, what he said, with what Jim Farley said.
Yes.
Farley actually said that he expects car prices, truck prices, auto prices to fall by more than 5% this year and next as dealer inventories grow, and the competitive pressure will take a toll on Tesla's dominance. So, Farley's saying, hey, inventories are building back up and we're going to have to incentivize them. Ford plans to boost spending on marketing its traditional internal combustion engine vehicles in response to falling prices, Farley said. The automaker is depending on gasoline-fueled models like the F-Series pickup truck and the Bronco SUV to finance its $50 billion plan to roll out electric vehicles. Am I hearing two different stories? So on one side, the head of Ford Blue says, we are going to increase by a non-trivial amount, by like 40%, our
Yeah.
profit margin on internal combustion engine vehicles. And then the CEO says,
Yes.
we expect auto prices to go down and we're going to have to spend more money marketing them. What's the story?
Well, the story is it's as convoluted as this may sound. The profit margin is so high in these high priced vehicles that even if their incentive spend to sell them goes up, they will still be able to hit their 10% overall profit margin projection that they have set for themselves. So that would indicate to me, if say incentive spends go up 2 or 3 or 4%, well, the profit margin on those vehicles that we're talking about, probably, if there was no incentive spend, is probably about a 15 to 18% profit margin. So they'll still be able to hit their projections because they are continuing to sell high profit, um, highly expensive vehicles. They have manipulated the MSRPs of these vehicles over the past 3 years, um, to outpace inflation so that they can underwrite their EV business. So if the MSRPs have gone up 20%, let's say, in the last 3 or 4 years, and the profit margin in there has gone from 10 to 15%, and they have to offer 3 or 4% of incentives to sell them, they're still ahead of the game. So it's two different tales. It's two different stories to get to the same ending.
Yeah.
Okay, what one is painting a highly profitable image, and the other is saying, "Oh yeah, the image is still going to be profitable. It's just not going to be as profitable as it could have been if we didn't have to make this incentive spend." It would have been, I don't know, ginormous, I believe is the term, without the impending incentive spends in the future.
Let me put you on the spot, Pops. Do you remember the latest data we had from Cox Automotive? The average transaction price for a new F-Series pickup truck. Do you remember the latest data we had? This comes from last quarter.
I believe it was about $66,000.
Yeah, $66,451 is the average transaction price for a new F-Series vehicle. Just mind-boggling how expensive they've gotten, and will continue to get, evidently, as Ford tries to further increase their
Going to
profitability
get even
on
more
those vehicles.
expensive. They're going to get even more expensive. Regardless of how big the incentives are to move these things, ultimately the customer is still probably spending 15% more for the same vehicle than they would have 3 years ago. And I believe that outpaces inflation. So there are economic concerns because of inflation, and then there's inflationary concerns that are being brought about by the manufacturers themselves, because they can use inflation as an excuse to continue to raise their MSRPs.
I'm curious. I'm doing it right now, so forgive me. The lowest trim level on an F-150 would be the XL. So let's do, you know me, I always like to do these live experiments. So
Yes.
we've got that. Let me get the banner off the screen. We do have the CarEdge report. It is still 100% free. If you go to caredge.com, log into your account, resources, CarEdge report, it's right there. I'm currently on the car search data, and I typed in new F-150s. I want to see. So let's see. There's 5,127 within 200 miles of, this is Vermont. Let's change this. Let's go nationwide really quickly.
Okay.
Where would that be? Here it is. So we're going to do nationwide. So there are, holy cow, there are currently 102,323 Ford F-150, new Ford F-150s for sale right now.
Gotcha.
What I want to do, Dad, is I want to see broken down by trim. So we've got 100,000. So 27% are the base trim.
Okay.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the next one up would be XLT.
I
Yes.
guess.
I think it would be the XLT. So we got 27 XLs. We've got, so 27. This is interesting. 27% are the base.
Yeah.
44% are the trim level above the base.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Lariat after that, I think. Keep me honest in the chat. I think Lariat's after that. 17%, we'll round that up. 17% Lariat. Wow, look at these price points. King Ranch after that? Is King Ranch after that? I could be getting some of these a little bit off. Yeah, there's not that many King Ranch. I mean, so you can see, Dad, that they're not oversupplying the market with their base entry level option. They're oversupplying the market with the one above that, which is interesting to see. And then there was a heck of a lot of those Lariats. Like the fact that you've got 17% of your inventory at a MSRP greater than $70,000, that's craziness.
Well, that's how you get to an average transaction price of 66,000. I mean, that's how you do it. If what was it, 27% of your vehicles are in the $48,000 range, and 17% are in the $75,000 price point. Yeah, it's pretty easy to see how you get to a $66,000 average, which I still believe. I keep saying it, but they keep selling trucks, so I must be wrong. But it still seems to me that would be cutting out an awful lot of people who look at those numbers and go, I can't afford that.
Let's do this, Dad. How many? Now I'm just having fun. Oh
Okay.
my goodness. What percentage of new F-150s nationwide do you think are over a $75,000 advertised price?
15%.
God, he is good, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Get yourself a dad. Get yourself a dad.
Well, you can use me.
Look at that, Dad. 14,432 of the 102,000 Ford F-150s right now on the market are over $75,000 as the asking price.
Yeah, that's
And that's the new normal, and will continue to be the new normal. Anyway, all right, we'll switch gears here in just a second. First, let's go to the chat we've got from Justice. Good to see Justice here as always. $100,000. That way they can give you a $10,000 rebate and a 30% discount and still be overpriced.
Exactly. And what the amazing thing is that even as they increase their incentive spend, Ford will still end up having a gross profit on those vehicles after the incentive spend of probably 10 to 12%.
Yeah.
The dealer, in order to move the vehicles, ultimately will probably see their overall net profit at the store, which has probably been hovering around 5 or 6% recently, when in the past it had been closer to 2%. They will probably see that 5 or 6% shrink down to 3.5 to 4%. So the ones that are really going to impact profit-wise will be the dealer body, more so than Ford. Plus, the dealer body then has the additional expense of preparing their dealerships for that electric vehicle future with the charging stations and everything else that they need to do. So it's just not that we should feel sorry for the dealers, because even if they're making 3.5 to 4% net profit, that's still double what it used to be, and a little less than what it has recently been. So they'll, not to feel sorry for them, they'll still be raking the money in, ladies and gentlemen. It'll still be a profitable proposition to own a new car dealership.
Pops, all right, one more for you and for the chat as well. How many new 2023 Ford F-150s have a selling price less than $45,000? What percent do you think?
About 4%.
And just again, it was 15%, about 15%, 15% that are over $75,000.
Yes.
And you
I
just
would
said
say,
how much, Ned?
I'd say about 4%.
Mark's saying 0. Do we get any other guesses in the chat? I'm gonna see. 4% from Pops. Yeah, John also says none. Wow, you are really good at this, Dad.
I'm sorry, but I did it for a while.
4,705
Uh,
nationwide.
yeah, it's
So
a little
about
over
4 to
4%.
5%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they have some a handful, let's say. Um, uh, you know.
No, let's say they have 4 to 5% of their available new inventory at a sub $45,000 price point. And
Okay.
they've got 15% of their available inventory at a $75,000 or greater price point. Which market needs more help?
No, it's no the at the $75,000 and above, it's even more than 15% because you stopped at like King Ranch. How
No,
many
no, I
plat?
had everything pulled in. I had everything
Okay,
pulled in.
okay. Well, so yeah, I mean, they know where the money is for them. Okay, at this point, they are more concerned about where the money is for them to underwrite their folly into the EV business,
Foley's
where
folly.
they are
Farley's
headed.
folly. Farley's
Farley's
folly.
folly.
Farley's
Um,
folly.
yeah, or Folly's Farley. It's just we've been saying this for a while. All these manufacturers need their ICE divisions to underwrite their foray into EVs. It's where else is it coming from? Where else can that money come from? It has to come from the profit in the ICE division. And in order to create enough profit in those divisions, they have to continue to build the higher priced, higher profit margin vehicles. So that's the business choice that they made.
Which leads us to this comment from Jarrett.
Yes.
Because automakers can do that all day long, but always remember, if they weren't selling, automakers wouldn't be making them. It's a timing thing. They're trying to get as many high-end trucks in the market before it drops too far. This leads me, Dad. We had
Yes.
data come out very recently from S&P. The headline: Ford F-Series loyalty much higher than other models. So Jared is onto something here. There are two factors that I think are driving this. Loyalty to the F-Series is quite high. Loyalty to the
Yes.
Ford brand is quite high. That being said, Farley, in his communications with Bloomberg, acknowledged that inventory is building up and that incentives will be needed. So it does point to, I think, an inflection point where they have built too many and continue to build too many of these expensive vehicles. They have high affinity with their existing customers, but Dad, even just in today's chat, there are a handful of these. David, I just bought a Ram 1500 or a Ram truck, for 15% off of MSRP, no dealer add-ons. From Jonathan, love the content, guys. Recommended you to my uncle. He got a Ram Bighorn for 19% below invoice. How long can Ford rest on that high sense of loyalty while they also watch their inventory build up back to high levels? Like, there is a bit of a dance going on here.
Well, it's a dance that they're controlling the music to the dance, and they have a pretty good sense of how many people can afford to buy these trucks, which is why they keep building these trucks. We just know that there is a large percentage of people that no longer can. And they don't care about those people anymore. Those people can go into one of their pre-owned trucks. Okay. The people that have the money, and apparently there's enough market out there for people with the type of funds that it takes to be able to buy these things. So there's a big enough market out there that it will continue to grow, and they can service that market. That's the plan. Okay. The plan is that people like you or I aren't in their future as a new
Yeah.
car buyer, and they don't expect us to be, and they're not looking for us to be. They're hoping that if we have an affinity for Ford, it will be for a pre-owned Ford, because that's what
Or after 2027, one of their EVs, that's when they think, that we'll be customers again. Hey, we had a comment come through in the chat, Dad, and this is spot on. Sorry that we're spending all day on Ford, folks.
yeah.
J-Max saying you filtered on F-150, Bacon the F-250, 350.
Yeah.
Those are all 75. Let's do this really quickly because
Yes.
this is fascinating stuff. So now we're just looking at all Ford's new inventory. I can't just do, or I guess I could do body style. So give me 1 second. So let me do by body and let me say pickup. So Ford has 118,000 new 2023 or 2024 pickup trucks on the market right now.
Yes.
So now let's do price. And we'll say greater than 75,000. You want to put a guess in here?
It's probably going to go up to about 7.5%.
Well, before, remember, this was 15%.
It was, oh, well, then it'll probably go up to about 20%.
I think you're probably right. 18. Okay, no, so it's still
about 16.5, 17%. Yeah.
Yep. And then let's see how many are sub 45,000. Oh, it's not going to like that. Let me put 1 over here. Put 45,000 over here. 11,000 out of 120,000. So even less than before. Yeah, pretty wild. Pretty wild, the decisions that they're making over there. Hey, Dad, let's switch gears just for a second here. The other storyline that's worth touching on, and Adam's hit it, is what are average interest rates right now? He's asking for good credit borrowers. Let me pull up, Dad. We had the latest data from the weekly Cox Automotive Auto Market Report, and they report on exactly that every single week. Auto loan rate trends are mixed so far in May, with average new vehicle APRs at 8.98%. 8.98. Used is at 13.55%.
And the good news is the new went down slightly, I think.
Well, new's back up this week. It was down slightly last week. New is at 8.98%, which is slightly up from last week.
Glad I'm not buying a car. But the interesting thing, and I think I shared this article with you today.
More cash buyers, yeah.
There are more cash buyers out there today than there have been. And that was something that we had projected earlier on, that we thought this year cash could be king. It becomes much easier for a dealer to accept cash for a deal than having to try and get a bank to approve the loan today. So even though dealerships, and I won't say dealerships so much, even though F&I people hate cash deals, if you ever want to see in a dealership somebody get deflated, it is when a sales manager walks a deal into the finance manager's office and says, "Oh, by the way, it's a cash deal." Okay. and at that point, typically the F&I manager gets pouty and well, what's in it for me? I'll tell you what's in it for you. You have an opportunity to see if you have the skills to actually sell something. That's what's in it for you. Okay. To see if maybe you can convert them to a finance customer. Maybe you can sell them an extended warranty, or maybe you can sell them some other type of protection package for their new vehicle. But what you have is an opportunity. And had we not made the deal on the sales side of things, you would just be sitting here twiddling your thumbs because there would be no opportunity. But I can tell you, in all the years that I did it, very rarely was there a finance manager that looked at it as an opportunity. They looked at it as, well, I'm paying you to work here today. Okay, with that attitude, yeah, I guess you are.
It's funny hearing you get so hung up on this, because, like, for me, who never worked in that space, like, it's interesting, but it's not like there's such an emotional response there because that happened to you so many times.
I've dealt with an awful lot of pouty finance managers who, by the way, ultimately made more than I did every year. Okay. Finance managers are typically very, very well paid, even when they have to handle a cash deal, the occasional cash deal. Now, the occasional cash deal, it's almost about 20% of new cars today are cash deals. And the dealership, and the sales management would probably welcome it because they know there's no drama in getting the deal done, that the customer is just going to write a check for it, and other than waiting for the check to clear, there's there's no fighting back and forth with the bank to get them to approve the amount of money you want to finance, because I don't know, you sold them $4,000 or $5,000 worth of F&I product in the back end. So, but we were on this 5, 6, 7 months ago, saying that going forward in 2023, that cash was going to be king. There's so much less drama that dealers would actually welcome it.
So one of the other things that we got from the Cox Automotive data, let me pull it up on the screen. They talk about their leading indicators week in and week out, and this is super interesting. Leads are down year over year so far in May.
Yes.
On both Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book, but leads are up for the month on KBB. Here's the one, Dad. Credit applications on Dealer Tracker down 11% year over year so far in May. I mean, there you go. And it's not because necessarily there's fewer buyers, because fewer people are going to actually finance. And why would they?
Yes. It is so much easier when a customer can just walk in and write you that check. It really is. And like I say, it's not something that the finance manager likes. But a good finance manager can still figure out how to make money off of a cash buyer. If they have the ability to write a check for the out the door price that you've agreed to, they also have the ability to pay for any protection packages that might make sense to them on that depreciating asset.
It's all good. You're really, this is so fascinating to me. You're like so triggered by this.
Well, I just, I have all these bad memories.
Yeah, exactly. I can tell.
PSTD.
You're like, you're like, as you're talking about this, you're not talking to consumers. You're talking to the F&I managers that tune in. You're like, you sons of guns, like you go sell something.
No, I think the conversation would have been, listen, you MFer, just take care of it. Okay. Be thankful. Just be thankful.
Yeah, some PTSD, that's for sure. Hey, I dropped the link in the chat. Again, CarEdge report, still free. A couple thousand of them were run yesterday. Lots of great feedback. So please, 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 if you haven't tried out the CarEdge report, please give it a shot. We really appreciate all of the feedback that we're getting there. Dad, one question here from JMac.
Yes.
What was a base Datsun PU? What was the price of that back in the day? Do you remember? What was the lowest price new car you remember selling?
Well, that would have been the Honeybee, back in Datsun days in 1977. And if I remember correctly, the Honeybee was like $1,749. Okay, for a brand new car, happened to be in yellow, happened to have black wings on the side of it, decal.
Wow.
But it was under $1,800. It might have had a $49 markup in it from invoice to MSRP. But that was the cheapest. And I remember when I first started working there, I lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey with my first wife. And I thought their pickups were so cute. So I thought I would drive a King Cab pickup as my demo. And I used to have to take the White Horse Pike Route 30. I used to have to take that up to Cherry Hill. And it was not the smoothest road in South Jersey, but I could tell you the lumps on the top of my head from every time I would hit a bump, and then I would fly up and I would hit the roof, and there were probably dents in the roof from my head hitting it. I think that was probably one of my shortest lived demos ever. They were cute, but they were not comfortable.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Pops. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, Dad, let's call it a show. We'll be back tomorrow.
Yes.
Get more news you can use then.
Yes. At midnight in Manila, 8 a.m. in Honolulu, 6 a.m. Anchorage time. Be 9 a.m. for those of you in Southern California, Northern California, or anywhere on the West Coast. And it'll be noon here on the East Coast. So please join us there or here tomorrow at those times. And if you want, I have no idea what Justice and I are talking about today at 12:45 on the electric channel, but hey, you can show up and see what kind of train wreck that show could be.
Dad, what is your problem?
Sometimes people like to watch live things and see bad things happen. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing today.
Why would you suggest it's going to be a train wreck?
It won't be.
I'm sorry, Justice. That's unfair. I'm sorry, my dad said that.
We're talking about VinFast and Fisker today, and he knows I have my eye on a Fisker Ocean.
Train wreck. All right, man. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Train wreck.
Why do you get so triggered?
Negative Nancy, man. Positive attitude.
Goodness. People like to watch live things to see what happens.
It's gonna be an Acela that's on time. Northeast Quarter, baby. On time train today. Nothing crashing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. See you. Bye.